It's time for smart money moves. Financial services like banking, credit, and investing are important for managing your money. And financial apps are making a range of financial services much easier to use for people across all income levels. Can these apps really help you manage your money better, or are they just more work? That's coming up right now on Smart Money Moves. Hi, I'm Marcia Griffin, and I'd like to welcome you to Smart Money Moves Building Wealth for Everyday People. Financial applications or apps are changing the way we manage money. Not only do they make some financial services much more affordable, but they put more services in the palms of your hand. Here to discuss how you can take advantage of these new technologies to make the most of your money are Silvio Travares, President and CEO of VantageScore, and Will Lewis, Global Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer for Experian. I'd like to welcome you both to Smart Money Moves. So, guys, to make it easy for our viewers, allow me to ask each one of you this very first question. And I'm going to start with you, Silvio, and then I'll go to you, Will, with this question. What are financial apps and what value do they actually offer to everyday people?
Well, financial apps are a great way for people to learn about money. We do a really bad job of teaching kids and, in general, people about how to use money. For me, when I was a kid, my dad was an economist and he taught me about cash, credit, mortgages at the dinner table. But not everybody has the advantage or blessing of having a dad who's an economist. So I didn't do such a good job for my own kids teaching them about financial apps. But my son is actually a second year student in college, and he just learned himself. He went onto apps, he went onto websites, and often when I see him, he's teaching me a thing or two. And so that's the big advantage for financial apps. They enable everyone to manage and learn about money much more effectively, right in the palm of their hand.
Absolutely. Now, Will, I want to ask you the same question. And maybe let me just turn this around a bit. What is the actual value, in your opinion, of financial apps that are available to all of us today?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on the program, Marcia. At the end of the day, financial apps give access financial tools and services. That access, John Hope Bryant mentioned it democratizes financial inclusion. What it does is no matter what your earnings level is, no matter what your socioeconomic situation is, it gives all of us the same access to financial tools, services, and really education. What's really important as we think about it is to be sure that everyone has knowledge. Knowledge at the end of the day is power. And that's what we're trying to help people with as we think about financial apps.
Absolutely. Now, do you use a lot of financial apps yourself, Will?
I do. I do. I not only do I use quite a few financial apps, I also encourage my children to do so as well. So I have my mobile banking app, which lets me
Okay.
monitor what's being spent and in some cases catch fraud when it's happening. I also
Yeah.
use apps that give me access to my credit scores, right? So I can see for free what my credit score is, what's tracking, and if someone tries to open up a credit line in my name without my authorization. Those type of things really ensure that not only are we aware of what access we have, but it also becomes a deterrent for fraud, right? The moment you find something, you can contact the agency or the bank or whomever it is to say, I didn't open this and stop fraud and nip it in the bud.
Absolutely. And so let me just ask you the same question. Silvio, do you use a lot of apps? And I know this is really up your alley in terms of development, but personally, do you use a lot of apps?
I do. I use a lot of apps, and I'm based here in San Francisco in Silicon Valley, which is like the valley of apps. And I use them for a variety of things. One is to just monitor my credit. There are a number of apps from Experian, TransUnion, and also Equifax, the three national credit bureaus, where you can
Right.
for free check what your credit report says and really monitor things like fraud. Those are really must have apps. But there are also a number of other apps that enable you to do things like invest in the stock market, save money on your shopping and purchases. And so, really, it's about just figuring out which ones fit for you and your lifestyle, getting those loaded up on your phone, and then you're going to be able to manage your money, manage your credit score much more effectively. And I really encourage all your viewers to do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, certainly that, those banking apps are really critical as well as the credit score, credit apps. We want to kind of get into that in a minute. Let me just ask you, Silvio, while I have you here, what should someone look for when comparing apps? I mean, there are all sorts of apps for budgeting and this and that and the other. How do you compare and how do you know which one is better than the other?
Well, one of the really most important things to look for in an app is security. Whenever you're dealing with finances and money, you want to make sure that that app is secure and not a scam. And unfortunately, there are scam apps out there and you want to avoid them. One of the key ways that you're going to be able to determine that the app is secure is by having security features like multi-factor authentication. So not just a password, but it'll send you a text or an email to authenticate and make sure it's really you.
So I have another question. Look, on many of the apps, it asks, I am not a robot. What does that actually mean? And what does that do for you?
Well, so that's a really good example of what I was just mentioning is security. What some criminals do is they have computers that will try to guess your password and put in a lot of different variations on your password until they get the right one. And
Okay.
when those apps are asking you, "Are you not a robot?" and they're asking you to sort of pick a little picture and
Yeah.
look at that, that's what they're trying to make sure that you are not one of these criminals trying to guess a password. And so, if you see an app asking for you that, that's usually a good sign that they care about security and they're trying to prevent fraud. So that's actually a good thing. It's a little annoying sometimes, but it's a good thing.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Will, let me just get back to you. What the question really is, are there apps that are available to help a person build or improve their credit? Now, credit is a big issue for all of us. Talk to us just for a minute about what's available.
Yeah. So there's really several kind of apps. There's apps that provide education about your credit, apps that enable you to compare different financial products, apps that connect you with financial and credit services. Many of them have digital features and tools that are free. So you think about the Equifax, TransUnion, Vantage, and Experian. You can download those apps to your mobile device and they give you access to some of those tools. Use any of those apps to be able to ensure you know what's on your credit profile, but then ensure that these reporting agencies have information about you that's important. Are you paying your Netflix bill every single month on time? Do you have mobile payments? Some of them have tools that allow you to be able to share that along the way. It's really, I think, an important item to build your credit and to be sure that everyone knows what you're actually paying every single month.
Absolutely. Now, Silvio, I'm going to jump back to you for a minute because we have spoken a lot about the value of credit scores. Why is it important that everyone know their credit score?
Well, the reason it's important that everyone know their credit score is before you can get access to credit, you need a credit score. Credit is the way most Americans build wealth. They are able to borrow money to make their dreams come true. Sometimes that dream is owning a home. Sometimes it's getting access to education so that you can pay for it, is getting a student loan. Other times it's doing something even more simple, like being able to have a car so you can get to work earlier and
Yeah.
less tired. And so credit is how to build the American dream. But if you don't have a credit score, you won't be able to access it. And the sad truth is, for many people, they don't have a credit score. And unfortunately, that is disproportionately the case for people of color. And so it's really important for you to understand what's on your credit record. It's really important to get access to a credit score. But the good news is you can do that more easily than ever before because it's free.
Will, let me ask you this. Now, a lot of people don't have their credit scores. A lot of people don't even look at their credit reports. Why is that?
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's just lack of awareness. Many people may assume that they have to pay to get access to their credit scores. But
Yeah.
the truth is, it's free. So you can go to freecreditreport.com, get free access to your credit report, and be able to see what's on there and what derogatory information may be on there as well. What's key is if there's derogatory information that's not true, report that to the credit agency or the credit bureau that is listed next to that credit report. Ensure they know that this isn't true and file a complaint about it. Also, some people may not know how, right, or
Yeah.
why it's important. This is really key to know. It's important to ensure that you remove any derogatory information that's not accurate from your credit report because it will affect things like you're being able to get a car. There are people that need a car to get back and forth to work, right?
Yeah.
But the interest rate can be really, really high if you have a low credit score. By removing that derogatory information and ensuring that there's information that's accurate about your on-time payment history, it allows your credit score to increase and your interest rate to possibly decrease as well, giving you access to the car that you want to get you to work and take your kids to school and so on.
Oh, that is so that is so true. Just recently, someone charged a car, a Mercedes on my credit report. I didn't know anything about it. So your point about looking at these credit reports for derogatory information is critical. And this just happened to me. So look, I recommend this to everyone. Silvio, let me get back to you. Many people are using apps to invest. In your opinion, is this really a smart move or is it more risky?
Well, it depends on the individual and it depends on how much you know about investing. First of all, let me say that investing in the stock market does involve risk. People think about investing in the stock market and stocks going up, and stocks have been going up, but what goes up also comes down. And so if you don't have an appetite for risk, you shouldn't be in the stock market. But for those people that do have an appetite for risk and they have a long-term horizon on building wealth, investing in the stock market can be a great way to build wealth. And there are many simple ways to do that. The first and most important way is a 401k plan, which is often offered by your employer. A second
Mhm.
good way is an IRA plan. For the 401k plans, one of the nice things about it is when you put money into that plan and invest it in stocks or mutual funds, your employer will often match that contribution, which is a great way to build wealth. And then getting back to the issue of credit, you can also often borrow from your 401k for certain important items like buying a home or paying for college. And that can also be a great way to start to build credit and a credit score by borrowing from yourself. So it depends on the individual, but if you have a long-term horizon and some appetite for wealth creation through risk, and you can put a little bit of money and savings aside for it, it's a great thing to do.
So are there apps to do all of those things, Silvio? To apps that help you to invest, that direct you to what to do and how to do it on all of the financial issues that you just mentioned?
Absolutely. So there are many well-known apps like Robinhood, Bumped is another one, and those
Hmm.
apps enable you to open an account, including the accounts that I mentioned, like our IRAs, and start investing.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to get started. And again, the huge advantage is you can have the information about the stock market, about your investments right in the palm of your hand, right in your cell phone. And that's a really amazing and new dynamic of being able to engage in financial services, that you can do it all with this device right in your hand.
Well, where do you get the instructions? Now, let me just ask you, Will, with all of these apps, where do you get the instructions on how to use the apps? Are the instructions right there? Do you have to go to another site to get instructions? Because a lot of people, particularly, well, the younger folks, really, I mean, it's automatic for them. But for a lot of people, look, I mean, it's confusing to even think about how to use these apps, but are there educational tools that one can go to?
Yeah, let's start from the beginning. That's how do you even get this app in the first place, right? We
Yeah,
keep talking about apps, and people are like, I don't know where to look. What.com do I
right.
type in financial and financial services, right? It'll bring up all different kind of apps, but choose the one that you want that works best for you. Great place to start is with the bank, whatever bank you bank with. If you have a
Yeah,
bank, download that app. You just click a button, download the app. What it will ask you is, to Silvio's point earlier, is to create a username and password. Don't use 1, 2, 3, 4. Use a password that includes letters, numbers, and symbols to be sure that your account is secure. Once you're in, what it does is it gives you some prompts and some instructions on tools you can use. What's really nice is many of the companies out there send you emails that allow to tell you, here's how you can use our app. Here are some things that can help. So they kind of prompt you and walk you through many of how to engage with the apps and how you can use
yeah.
it to help you in your financial situation as well. So 3 steps, Marcia. Press the button, download the app to your phone. Create a strong password once you're in there, and it'll give you access. And then within the app, it'll prompt you. It'll kind of take you through step by step on how to get access to more information and educational tools.
That is excellent information. Of course, one of the main one of the main concerns is even remembering those passwords, but that's another whole story. Let's just move on. Um, do some people, and I'll ask this of both of you, do some people benefit more from the use of apps than others? I'll start with you, Will, and then go to Salvio.
I will tell you that I think everyone benefits, all consumers benefit from the utilization
Okay.
of apps, was really key. But here's an important note. When we think about financial inclusion and those who don't have access to the credit market, and particularly those that are credit invisible, meaning those people who don't have a credit profile, who are not in the
Hmm.
credit system,
Yeah.
28 million Americans, according to a recent survey, don't have access to the credit system, or they're credit invisible.
Okay.
Of that 28 million, 28% are Black,
Yeah.
26% are Hispanic Latino. I
Yeah.
think for that population to get educated, to really work to increase their housing options, hopefully find ways to lower their insurance premium, lower those interest rates when they want loans, or just make themselves visible so they have access, is
Yeah.
really important. That's the population that gets helped most by these apps, is those that can go in and who had no knowledge before, but because of the apps, they can learn, they can read, and they can bring themselves into the credit ecosystem.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's the whole essence of having both of you all with us today. And because we all want to have more money, we all want to do better. So these apps, as you all said, really make life a lot better for all. Okay, let me get back to Silvio here, if I could. Silvio, do you have any comments around why people are not using the apps, which is pretty much what Will and I were just speaking about?
Well, I think the biggest reason is just fear of technology. You mentioned it earlier, but I want to just make sure that everybody that's listening to this show I want them to give it a try, because the reality is everyone can use financial apps. And too often, people of color, older people, they think this isn't for me, it's too complicated. And that's not true. Today, the apps are really easy to use for every age group. And I also think it's really important to emphasize that question, Marcia, that you mentioned, which is who benefits. I
Yeah,
think groups that benefit the most are people of color, women, immigrants, people that have been traditionally underserved, because it's those very same groups that often don't have a bank in their neighborhood, don't get access to a credit card. And so these financial apps that are available on a phone, it really opens up financial services to a large group of people that have traditionally been underserved. And that's really important, that those people, we get access to financial services through our phone. So that's the group that benefits the most. But as Will said, everybody does benefit by using these. So the key is just to get started, to get over that fear and give it a try.
absolutely. Well, look, that's the whole point of our discussion today. And I just want to reiterate once again, Silvio, so the information that we put into these apps, in your opinion, uh, is pretty secure.
Yes, and this is kind of the secret that very few people realize. Using financial services on your mobile phone is actually more secure than when you typically do it in person at a bank branch or use your credit card in the store. And that is because there are many security features built into your phone that don't exist in those other formats. Let me give you a few examples. Most phones today actually can scan your face and make sure it's you. So that's a feature that's not available when you go to a store or in a bank. Many of the apps also have a fingerprint sensor, and they can actually detect it's really you by reading your fingerprints. So these financial services that are available on your phone are actually often much more secure, and the most secure compared to other technologies. And that's really, really exciting. And then one other thing I do want to mention, which is super exciting in this space, is we are seeing all sorts of new types of data being used to extend credit to consumers. It used to be that you could only get access to
Mhm,
credit if you had previous
mhm.
access to credit, which seems kind of silly. But now what's happening is we're looking at new types of data. Did you pay your rent on time? Well, that should qualify you for a loan. Did you do a good job of paying your utility bills on time, like cable or your phone bill? Well, that will help you now get credit.
Excellent. Will, we're going to end with you. And why don't you just tell our viewers if there were one, two, perhaps three things that you want them to remember, what would those three things be?
Absolutely. Well, this work is personal to me, right? I was a young boy that grew up in a community where, in my household, we had lots of love. Both of my parents were there, um, but there wasn't lots of money, nor was
Right.
that the case for my neighbors, right? So people went down to the local furniture store and bought a couch on time, and it took them many, many years to pay off that couch, by which time they paid more for it because they didn't have credit. Um, we all rode public transportation or we paid 25-30% interest on that car because people didn't have credit. This is personal. So if there were one, two, or three things I want people to think about is, first, go check your credit score. Find out what's on your credit report and use some of the educational tools to grow your credit score. That's the first thing. Know what your credit score is. The second thing I would say is, if you have a bank, download information from your bank. If you don't have a bank, download one of the financial services apps that we've spoken about during the program today, and use some of the educational tools that are in there for you to learn and grow and understand what tools you have at your access and how you can better improve your circumstance. And then the final thing is, take time on your phone, on your tablet, at the local library, because I realize not everyone has access to a smartphone. Go to your local library and type in financial support, credit education. Tons of things will come up there. choose something from one of the brands you've heard, maybe one of the ones we mentioned today, and read about it and learn more around how you can help your situation. Those are the three things I would say. If you do nothing else, do one of those three things.
Sylvia, also tell our viewers one thing you definitely want them to remember from this conversation.
And just take that first step today. It's easier than ever before to take a hold and control your financial future because of technology, because of these apps. It's in your hands. Just get started today.
Love that. Just get started. There is no time to waste. Well, I'd like to thank my guest for our discussion today and you, our audience, for joining me. For more information on this program or any other program produced by WHUT, go to WHUT.org. See you next time on Smart Money Moves. And remember, together we can and will make a difference. Thank you.
Funding for this program is brought to you by Wells Fargo, Lakeview Loan Servicing, M&T Bank, understanding what's important. With additional funding provided by 3x30 Black Home Ownership Collaborative and National Housing Conference.
This program was produced by WHUT and made possible by contributions from viewers like you. For more information on this program or any other program, please visit our website at WHUT.org. Thank you.